Welcome back to the grind. In this video, we're going to talk about the spell details of Arboralith, the Earth Warrior that is the Festive dragon that is just released to War Dragons. I'm sorry for the delay in this video. I was not able to get the information very early. I got it at the same time it was released, so I didn't have time to plan ahead and prepare. So unfortunately, this is a little bit delayed, but I'm happy to be getting this out to you now. For starters, I think this dragon looks very cool. The design of the dragons recently, for the most part, I think have been really great. Now, let's get into the spells of this dragon and discuss whether or not this is a viable dragon to go for. So the first spell for Arboralith is Aegis of Nature, a red active 2 rage spell that the first cast will shield the dragon for 50% of its modified HP and increase the breath damage by 125%. So a little bit of a boost in his damage output, which is great, and a little bit of a shield. Now this first cast can be used when there is a red mage present because it will not be attempting to deal any damage, so you will get the shield and you will get the increased breath damage. Once it's recast, it will detonate the shield and damage nearby towers for 8% of the dragon's modified HP and causing the towers to deal 25% less damage. This second cast will not work if there is a red mage shielding towers. Now, if you are able to destroy the red mage first, or if the red mage is positioned in a way where there are some towers exposed, only the ones that are not shielded by the red mage will be affected. The next spell is Overgrowth, a white active 2-rage spell, which freezes all nearby towers for 5 seconds and destroys all midair projectiles. So anything that's in the air will be stopped in the midair as long as the tower that fired it was frozen. The next spell is Super Rejuvenate, which is an active 1-rage blue spell that will heal 30% of the dragon's modified HP over 2 seconds. And this is a very strong heal, especially since it does not have a cooldown. And actually, if you didn't notice, none of these spells have cooldowns, but there is a lot of rage required in order to cycle through all these spells repeatedly. So this dragon is going to require a lot of HP. The last spell is a passive Dark Flak Resist. So the Dark Flags, you will be able to tank a couple shots of that one, so it will be less of a priority. Now looking at the spotlight video, we can see this spell as he toggles on the red spell to deal increased damage to the red mage, then uses the red spell again to debuff the towers so they deal less damage, then freezes them with the white spell, and then uses the Rejuvenate to gain back some health. And surprisingly, he was able to cast most of those spells without running out of rage. If you get hit by a mage super shot, then this dragon will drop very quickly. And honestly, I'm not sure that the second cast of the red spell is really worth it. I think I would rather have an extra cast of the white freeze spell because that is essential to prevent being hit by mage super shots as well as towers that deal a lot of damage. And it disables them for quite some time. 5 seconds is a long time, but be careful if you freeze it before the initial freeze effect ends, it may not actually add the effect. I think it only works and adds the 5 seconds if the initial freeze effect has worn off and the towers begin to recognize you again. So make sure you're careful about that. So I think how I would fly Arboralith is toggling on the red damage boost spell right away so that you can start to regenerate some of that rage back. As soon as you face the island and the towers recognize you, firing off their super shots, use the white freeze spell and then continue to destroy the towers in whatever priority is required, whether it's the storm tower or the mages, and continue to use the freeze spell once it wears off. And I would just continue using the freeze spell and the Rejuvenate when required, and probably not even use the second cast of the red spell. And that's because that damage bonus, I think, is critical because warriors typically struggle to destroy towers. As well as decreasing the damage of the towers remaining, I don't think is as important as freezing them, stopping their super shots, and preventing them from firing any damage at all. So I think this dragon is a reasonable festive dragon. I don't think it's worth changing your season plans over, especially if you have potential for getting a mythic. And if you've already started another dragon, I probably wouldn't switch to this dragon. However, if you have nothing else to obtain and you're not getting a mythic, or you've already got your mythic and you wanted an extra line to go for and wanted an interesting dragon to try, it's not a terrible option, but I think other lines provide more significant benefits to obtaining those lines. But if you're a lower level player and you've been saving up your sigils, you haven't gone for a line yet, and you won't be able to really complete more than a line or even less than a line, and you need a reliable dragon that you don't think that the other dragons that you've seen so far are really right for you, this dragon I think would be a beneficial dragon to help get you through some PvPs until you find or until you get a few more solid dragons that you're used to flying. So I hope this was helpful, and I'll see you in the next video.